Good afternoon, everybody. Good après-midi, tout le monde. Welcome to the Committee of Adjustment hearing for Panel 1. We are a City of Ottawa quasi-judicial tribunal that holds public hearings to consider Planning Act applications, including minor variances to the zoning requirements and consent to sever land. Our hearings are now in person here at Ben Franklin Place, and we are able to enable remote participation, as you can see, by people participating by video conference. We are live streaming on YouTube, and the video is archived and is available for future viewing by the public. My name is Simon Coakley. I'll be chairing today's hearings, and you can address me by my name or as chair. With me are my fellow panel members. On my right, Heather McLean. On my left, Arto Keklikian. And on the screen, Anne Tremblay and John Blatherwick. And I'd like to thank Heather for joining us this afternoon to round out our panel. The proceedings for the hearings will be as follows. Excuse me, listed on the agenda, and then will appear on the screen from time to time, the applications that we'll be hearing today. For the sake of efficiency, we may deal with items in a different order, or I think today we're probably going to follow the order of them on the agenda. We have, as panel members, all reviewed the planning reports and any written submissions in support of or in opposition to any of the applications. And so today we'll hear any oral submissions relating to the applications. As part of the statutory public notification requirements, each applicant was required to post a sign on the property in question before the hearing. They also had to confirm in writing that they did so, or they would need to swear or affirm an oath today that they fulfilled the sign posting requirements. My understanding is that the items today we have received the signed statements that the post, yes. So we will not need to administer any oaths this afternoon. We may ask for a brief presentation of an application, followed by questions for the applicant and then the city planning staff. We will then hear from members of the public who have registered to speak, and we may also have questions for them. Finally, the applicant, who has the burden of proof, will have an opportunity to make final comments in reply. I'd ask that you address your comments to me as the chair, and when you sit at the speaker table, if you could start with your name and spelling it if necessary, and provide us with your municipal address for the record. Presentations are limited to 5 minutes, and a little counter comes up on the screen. Just exceptions are at my discretion. At the end of the hearing, the panel may either make an oral decision or we may reserve our decision, which means it won't be delivered today. In either case, and within 10 days, the Committee of Adjustment will send the official written decision and reasons for it to all the parties, the participants, and anyone else who has requested a copy. Si quelqu'un veut s'exprimer en français, je vous invite de nous indiquer et ils vont s'en occuper. Unless anyone has any questions about procedure, we will get into our agenda. The first item on our agenda is to any declarations of interest from any of the panel members. I don't believe there are any, but I stand to be corrected. No? Okay. I don't believe we have any minutes to confirm today, do we? No? Okay. We also do not have any adjournment request. We don't have an adjournment request. However, we have been advised that item 6, the applicant has requested that the matter be withdrawn. So we will not be addressing item 6 today. With that, I think we will go through the agenda as presented. So the first item is number 1, 296 Metcalfe.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair, about the unopposed applications.
Well, I was going to treat this one as an effectively unopposed application. With my fingers tightly crossed. So 296 Metcalfe, I understand that we have received a letter from a member of the public who I believe is not here today. Let me just check my name. So that's Ms. McGill. Is Ms. McGill in the room or either online? I don't see it.
No, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. The issue there is a question regarding the way in which the proposed addition would be clad from the outside, which of course is not technically a matter that we can address here this afternoon in any event. So hence why I'm going to treat this as basically an unopposed application. Although I would invite anybody, first of all, actually, I will ask my panel members if anyone has any questions of the applicant. I don't think we need a presentation, so no. Are there anybody in the room or online who wishes to speak to this application? Again, I don't see anybody in the room. Nobody online. Okay. If you want to say something, be my guest, but all right. In that case, members, are we in a position to approve this? Yes. Or could I just ask for hands up for everybody in agreement? Oh, yeah. Okay. Just 1 second. We do seem to have a technical issue here. I think, I think it's important for him to be, for the camera to be working. Just sorry, staff are just attempting to resolve the technical issue here. Okay, Mr. Keklikian's computer is working now, but we seem to have lost Mr. Blatherwick. Okay, he's still there. Good. Okay, then for the record, just so everyone, can I just ask everybody to indicate by raised hands that we agree with this application? Thank you very much. And we will note for the minutes that we were aware of the issue about the cladding, but that will have to be dealt with in I believe probably through the heritage process. Thank you very much. So if we could move to item number 2, which is 296 Manor Avenue. Is there anybody here to speak to, or anyone online to speak to that one?
Sorry, Mr. Chair, it's on the unopposed list?
Yes, yes. I think we're unopposed until the end now. So. Are either the owners, Alain Doom or Charles Hamann or Niels Leutge, the applicant here? So either present or online. Oh, I'm still having some technical issues. Yeah. Item number 2.
The agent has been promoted to panelist, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. So is it Mr. Leutge? Are you there?
Mr. Chair, it appears the speaker has gone offline.
All right. We will then put this later on the agenda, I suppose, give him an opportunity to come back.
Mr. Chair, I believe these were on the unopposed list as well.
I-
You can approve them based on that.
On that, do we wish to? Okay, let me then, in that instance, is there anybody who wishes to speak to this, even though they haven't signed up previously? Nobody here in the room, anybody online who wishes to speak to this item, which is item number 2, 296 Manor Avenue? No? All right, so there's nobody, panelists, if we're in agreement then to approve this, if you ever could ask a show of hands. Okay, so the matter has been approved. 212 Carruthers Avenue, is it Ms. DeSanti? This we believe is also an unopposed matter, so it should with, no. We believe this is an unopposed matter. I'll say no more than that. But if you would like to, and then we would proceed with item number 4. I believe you're probably the same, you're representing number 4 as well.
Yes,
Yeah.
Mr. Chair.
Okay, again, we do not have anybody who's indicated opposition to this one. Can I just ask if there's anybody in the panelists? Are there any questions for the applicant? No. Are there any people either in the room or online who wish to speak to this? No, I'm not seeing anyone. All right. Again, members, are we in a position to agree to this one, to item number 3, 212 Carruthers Avenue? If I could request a show of hands. Yep, so all in favor? Fingers crossed. Similarly, item number 171 Armstrong Street. Sorry, item number 4. Is there anybody in the room or online who wishes to speak to this item? And I'm not seeing anyone in the room. Is there anybody online who's indicated the request? Okay, sorry, I should have asked panelists, if colleagues, if you wanted to make any comments, ask any question. All right. In that case, again, are we in a position to decide this matter now? All in favor? Thank you. So your
Thank
two
you
items
very
have been
much. And
approved.
thank you, Ms. Linker, for helping us on these files. Planning staff was great. Thank you.
That's always good to hear. Thank you. Okay, item number 5. So this is Oak Street, 6 Oak Street. Is it Mr. Robinson who's representing? I think this one, Mr. Robinson, we've moved so quickly through all the others. We really would like to have a presentation so we feel we're doing our jobs properly.
Thank you very much. If the coordinator could put up the presentation documents that I filed. Thank you very much. My name's Paul Robinson, the agent for the applicants for 6 Oak Street for a minor variance application. This application was deferred from a date in, I think, mid-March, and we're back today with the application. And it's for 6 Oak Street on the south side of Oak Street, just west of Preston Street. Oak Street is a 10-lot dead-end street running off Preston Street. On the north side of it is Plouffe Park. Actually, if the coordinator could go to the next slide, that'd be great. Thank you. So the property is outlined in red, and on the north side is Oak Street, and then further north on the image on the left is a portion of Plouffe Park. And the road you see on the far right of the aerial photography is Preston Street itself. The property has a bit of a strange shape, and we'll get into that later. It has more width at the front than at the back. It's not a rectangle. And there is a portion of a city laneway on the southwest portion of the property that then continues down to a street called Laurel. And a number of properties on Oak Street, Preston Street, and I believe Laurel have their garages coming in off that city laneway, which is a maintained city laneway. Where you can see where the property is in the overall city. It is within a hub designation, and it is with the core transect. Next slide, please. Here's the property from Geo Ottawa. It's shown in blue. This property and properties to the west on Oak Street and most of the properties on Laurel are in an R4UB zone. The property immediately to the east and properties on both sides of Preston Street in this area are in a traditional Main Street 78 exception zone. And to the north is an L1 zone, which is, I believe, an open space zone. There is a park there, and there is a city swimming pool facility. To the west, lands are being, at the end of Oak Street, are being developed at the present time for a number of mid-rise and high-rise apartment buildings. And then the lands west of the L1 zone are part of a city initiative for some additional mid-rise and high-rise development. It's been in the media a lot about some modifications as to where exactly the park will go, where the school will go, where the high-rises will go, and I believe it's just recently come to somewhat of a resolution. Next slide, please. This is the survey plan of the property. So Oak Street is on the left, on the north side. And you can see the existing building, which is a duplex, is shown in a sort of lavender color. The property is outlined in red. And then below that and to the right, also in a lavender color, is an existing garage, which is attached to the house. It is used by 6 Oak Street, but it is on the city laneway. It seems to have been there for quite a long time. It is proposed to be removed. And then to the right of that, which would be to the south, is another garage. That's not part of our application. And that is a garage, I believe, that is used by a Preston Street address. And that is also on the city laneway, and a very small portion of the garage that is at the bottom right of the image, which is actually the garage for 8 Oak Street, which is the property to the west. A very small portion of that is on the city laneway. And this is information that our clients' surveyors picked up through their boundary and topographic survey. Next slide, please. Here's some site photos. You can see in the middle image is the existing building at 6 Oak. You can see where the property boundary is along the frontage, shown in red. And the garage of 6 Oak is in the rear, just beyond that white car that you can see in the driveway. The photograph on the right-hand side. There's more. Thank you. The image you can see on the right is the garage at 160 Preston, and then behind that is the garage at 6 Oak. And then on the right-hand side of the image is the actual duplex at 6 Oak Street now. The actual footprint of the existing building at 6 Oak, which is a duplex, is about 105 square meters. And the proposed footprint of the new building is actually slightly less at about 102 square meters. The floor areas, the existing floor area is about 315 square meters, and the proposed floor area is 350 square meters. So it's a smaller footprint. There is a bit more floor area because the floors are a bit fuller. Next slide, please. Thank you. This is the image in the middle shows the driveway of 6 Oak, and then the white car in the foreground, which I think is a Toyota RAV4, is the car that's parked on the driveway at 8 Oak, which is the house to the west. And then the image on the right shows the existing front of 6 Oak. It's primarily used, the front yard is now primarily used for a vegetable garden, as is the rear yard. And then you can see on the left, the unit at 4 Oak Street. 4 Oak Street and 2 Oak Street are semis that are immediately to the east of that. And 2 Oak Street actually is right on the corner of Preston Street. Next slide, please. This is a photo my clients took about a week or 10 days ago. It shows the foundations on the right of the east side of 6 Oak Street. There is currently in this area a 1.23 meter or 4 foot side yard. It's paved, and the car that is at 4 Oak Street is ever so slightly impeding upon that setback. At the rear of the existing building at 6 Oak Street, the current setback is actually, I think, about 0.53 of a meter. So that would be somewhere between 1.5 feet and 2 feet. That change is going to be removed, and it's proposed to have a 1.23 meter side yard setback throughout the entirety of the east side of the new 5-unit building. Next slide, please. This is a view taken from, you can see on the left, the arrow shows where it was taken from. It shows the existing fence that is along the south property line of 6 Oak Street. And in the foreground, that planting is actually in the rear of the property at 160 Preston Street. Next slide, please. This is a site plan showing the proposed and existing setbacks. I'll go from top center and go clockwise. Along the east side, the current side yard setback in that area, and it's the area where the photo was shown of the car, is 1.23 meters. It's proposed to remain like that. At the rear of the east side, it's currently 0.52 of a meter. It's proposed to go to 1.23. The rear yard currently is 3.46 meters. And that is a vegetable garden with that fence along the right-hand side that I just showed in a previous image. We're proposing to have that at slightly greater dimension at 3.59 meters. Along the bottom right of the image, the current setback to the city laneway is 0.2 of a meter, and we're proposing to have that at 0.25 of a meter. And then along where the property is wider, closer to Oak Street, the setback is 2.53 meters. We're proposing to keep that. And then from the west wall of the property closest to Oak Street to the east side of the home at 8 Oak Street, there's a distance of 2.78 meters, and that is where the car for 8 Oak Street parks. And then the final setback at the front, it's presently 4.08 meters, and the proposal is to have that at 3.84 meters so that we can have an area in the rear yard and the front yard that will allow for a new tree in the rear yard, a new tree in the front yard, and a tree that will straddle the front lot line. And this has been discussed with Ms. Young from Forestry Services. Right now, there are no trees on the property, so we're proposing 2 new trees that are wholly on the property and 1 tree that will straddle the front lot line. Next slide, please.
If you could kind of
Sure.
wrap up as soon as you could, please.
Yeah, this is the front and rear elevations. The building is 8.71 meters in height. 11 meters is the maximum that's permitted in the bylaw, so we're not exceeding that. It's a basement. Basement has 2 units. The ground floor has 1 large unit, a bit over 900 square feet. And then the second floor and third floor have 2 units, with the third floor being lofts in them. And then because of the fact that this building, each unit has got a separate access directly outside, it's not considered a low-rise apartment, it's considered stacked units, which triggers some more stringent lot width and lot area requirements than a low-rise apartment would. And this way, there's not much in the way of interior common hallways, which allows for greater unit sizes. Next slides, please. Thank you. This is the east, which would be from 4 Oak Street, and this is the west facade from 8 Oak Street. And I think that may be it, or we can just... So those are the, this is the location of the variances. It was outlined in my rationale report. There are some variances related to the side yard along the, both sides along the front. And then there's a number of variances related to the rear yard area, the rear yard soft landscaping area, and then the permitted projection for a balcony. And based on the depth of the lot, I don't believe that we're allowed any projection for a balcony, but that balcony is really just the landing at the top of the stairs to access the unit at the rear. So since the last hearing, we did, within about a week of the hearing, we prepared a summary of the application to explain it to neighbors. It was delivered to neighbors with my contact details. And then again, when the hearing, when the sign was put up, the owners also went door to door to some nearby neighbors to speak to them. They did have some discussions with them. I was out of the country at the time, and while I was away, the neighbor at 8 Oak Street reached out to me via email because they had my contact details. They had some questions about how close the building was going to be to their property. I think there may have been a misunderstanding because of the side yard setback on the west side, but that's really to the laneway. It's not to their property. And my client has also tried to speak to some of the neighbors. So we're here to answer any questions.
Do members of the panel have any questions immediately, or shall we go to Ms. Lincoln next? I know you have some comments, Ms. Lincoln, but panel. The only comment I would make at this point, and because it picks up on what you just said, Mr. Robinson, on page 1 of your letter, which is dated 1st of May 2024, to date, we have received no feedback or comments from the neighbors. That
was the case on May 1st when this was submitted. And then about May, I was away for 3.5 weeks in May, probably about the 5th, within a day or so, I think, of the new sign being put up. The neighbors at 8 contacted me via email, and through the miracle of Wi-Fi out of the country, I was able to respond to that. And at the time, I believe it was at the time that the sign was put up, or very soon after, the owners spoke to 2 and 4, or knocked on the door and spoke to 2, and attempted to speak to 4. I don't know if they were able to speak to them or not. And then yesterday, around this time, I got the comments that you also received.
Okay. Ms. Lincoln, we gather you have some comments.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Staff generally agree that this area of the city is contemplated for intensification given the direction of the official plan and the secondary plan, and staff do not have a lot of concerns regarding most of the minor variances requested. However, we did raise that we do have some concerns regarding the rear yard specifically. So that's with respect to the rear yard setback, rear yard area, and rear yard soft landscaping requirements that are proposed to be reduced through this development. Staff believes that perhaps there's a cumulative impact caused by the reduced lot size, and that a larger lot would better accommodate a development like this and the increase of units a lot more sufficiently compared to the subject site.
Okay, thank you very much. Panel members, do we have any questions for Ms. Lincoln? No. Okay. I do see 3 people in the room, and I do have an indication that perhaps there are some people who wish to speak to this item. So does anybody wish to speak to this application?
Yes, we do.
Well, are you a group, or are you individuals?
Individuals on Oak Street.
Okay. Would one of you like to come forward, take the seat here, and we'll go through you one at a time. Just if you could take a seat. Yes, if you'd sit there, please push the button so that the green light comes on the microphone. And if you could give us your name and address, that would be helpful.
Hello, my name is Ian Allen, 22 Oak Street, just down the block. Although the number's 22, we're only a few houses away from the proposed development because the numbers are not contiguous. I am pleased to see that members of the panel wear watches. I believe you are probably the same generation that I am, and that gives me a sense of comfort. I also noticed that you scheduled this on a Wednesday so I could get here by free public transit. Thank you. I'm here representing everybody who has a day job and can't be here. First, I must protest the use of the word consultation. The previous chairman said, please, you should go consult with the neighbors, and no consultation has taken place. If you use a consultant, you listen to what the consultant says. The developers at 6 Oak Street did not consult with us. They printed some paper that told us what we already knew, and they did not meet with us as a group to hear what we might have said. That is not a consultation. The submissions that I made at the previous hearing still stand, so I'm alarmed when you say that you've received no submissions. They haven't changed anything. What I said last time applies this time. Do I need to resubmit what I said last time?
No.
So it's already on record. That's
We have the full record before us.
great. Thank you. Second, city staff did say that this apartment-sized building is too big for its lot. It would be better suited on a bigger lot. It is not appropriate on our residential street, and we agree. You can't turn a pig into a cat by making a dozen small modifications to it. You can't sneak an apartment building onto a residential street by applying a dozen variances. I have a quote from Solon, a 6th century Roman statesman, who says, Laws are the spider's webs, which if anything small falls into them, they ensnare it, but large things break through and escape. We may ensnare ourselves in small details about variances and not considering the bigger thing, which is this apartment-sized building in keeping with the intention of the city master plan for a residential street full of 100-year-old houses? Does the city want to completely eliminate residential streets with 100-year-old houses? Please preserve Oak Street's character. Don't put another apartment building there. City staff agree this apartment site development is too big for our street. There's plenty of room for density in the Gladstone complex, which is just next door. I think I've said it all. Please don't destroy Oak Street's character by putting an apartment building in our street. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. Let me, just before I ask you to, do any of the panel members have any questions for this? No?
And bravo for city staff for saying it's too big. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do one of you wish to come forward and speak? You don't have to. We have a copy of what you have submitted in writing, but it is your opportunity to add anything that you would like to add, but you do not have to if you don't want to. What you have submitted is on the record, yes. Right, okay, well, thank you very much. Is there anybody then online who wishes to? Yes, actually, could you just use the microphone and give us your name so that we know which? Thank you, that was a good suggestion. Yeah, is the green light on? Just push the button and the green light will come on. Yeah.
Okay. My name is Mi Fang Liu. I live on 2 Oak Street. And my cousin right there, she lives on 4 Oak Street.
And her name is?
And her name is Thuy Hang Lee.
Okay.
And we are opposed to the 6 Oak Street though.
No, we do have you on our list here, so thank you very much for that. So is Ms. Maillet, you wish to speak to this matter? Okay, if we could, yes, that's fine. You can go and sit down again. Thank you. Please go ahead, Ms. Maillet.
Oh, okay. I can't see the members. I just see the empty seat, but that's okay. So yes, thank you for hearing us, and thank you to the members of the committee for making this time for the neighbors to express their concerns about this development. I want to say that, as my neighbor, Mr. Allen, said, that we were not consulted. I didn't get a letter. I certainly was waiting for some kind of meeting or discussion to happen. It never did, and so that was disappointing. I want to say this is a small side street with homes, residential homes that have families, kids, grandkids, 100-year-old homes. I bought mine and renovated it. I've put a lot of money into it. And I just feel that, and I think, all the neighbors know each other. We've all have concerns with this development, that with the developments happening at the Gladstone, so at the end of the street, we've been a dead end street, quiet, with a park across the street since I've lived here, 15 years. And with the development of the Gladstone Village, high rises coming, community housing, I feel like we're fighting to keep this as a livable side street, that families enjoy, that people can appreciate the residential neighbor of this street, which is becoming more and more kind of crowded. And for me, the proposal does not maintain a family-friendly housing option. as specified. I think it's the, you know, and I'm not a city planner, but I think it's called the West Downtown Core Secondary Plan. We're looking at 5, I believe, 1-bedroom units, which are not family-friendly housing options. And so for those reasons, we really oppose this development. If it was a 3-unit, you know, and the house, the development would look the same as the other homes on the street, maintaining the character of the street, I think, you know, we would be open to that. But the way it stands now, it just, yeah, it as Ian said, it does wreck the character of the street and the feeling of a street where families can live. And yeah, I think that's it.
Thank you very much,
Thank
Ms.
you.
Maillet. Do any of my colleagues have any questions? Ms. Maillet? No, not seeing any. Thank you very much. Do then any of the panel members have any comments they wish to make at this time, or any questions to, Ms. Tremblay?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A question for Mr. Robinson. So, you know, when I read the planning comments, I was interested to say that they were supporting an awful lot of the variances, and there's quite a few. But I do see on your site plan some of the issues that they may be raising about functionality. So I look at the staircase and how much of the room that actually will take up in the backyard. You've shown a tree, and I was sort of left thinking, so how will that rear yard be used? Because I really think that that's what is of issue when we talk about some functionality deficiencies. So can you tell me a little bit about, you know, had you looked at moving the building forward? Had you looked at reducing the size of the building slightly? What had you done in that regard?
Thank you for the question. If the coordinator could put up the site plan, that would be helpful. Thank you. Prior to the actual application, myself and Ms. Linker had a number of discussions about this. And at one point we were proposing to have the building, right now you can see the blue dashed line is the required front yard setback, which I believe is an average of the adjacent, and we're proposing to bring it closer to the road through the dashed maroon line, which will still allow for a tree planting area. Previously, we had shown it even closer to Oak Street itself. Ms. Linker had objections to that because then the building would be further forward, even further forward than it is proposed, and she thought that it would be out of line with the alignment of the front facades of buildings now. The units are about, I think in the basement, they're 460 square feet, and the rest of the units are a bit over 900 square feet. So there are 2 small units and 3 fairly reasonable size units. So it's a balancing act of the front yard and the rear yard while still trying to keep a 5-unit building, which is something that is the clients are wanting to have. It does qualify, I believe, for a form of CMHC funding. The rear yard will have the bicycle parking, and it will have an open area, and it will have a new tree, and it does have the stairs leading to the unit at the rear. I think this is an old version of the drawing because this shows a larger than currently proposed rear yard, rear yard platform that leads to that fifth unit. We've pulled that back so it's only as wide as the stairs, and it's really just a landing at the top of the stairs. So we've tried to balance the front yard and the rear yard and to still have a usable area within the building so that we can have 5 units for this. It does look like a house from the street, and that's the look that they were going for. So thank you.
So can I just check, do we have updated plans then? I mean, I take that this is part of a presentation that may be presented, but have we received updated plans?
We do have an updated site plan,
Okay,
Mr. Chair.
thank you.
I think that's the only difference.
Okay, no, that's fine. I just wanted to make sure.
Mhm.
Ms. Tremblay, was that any follow-up?
Well, I just wanted to, I find that interesting. I still think the rear yard is awfully small for the number of units. And I'm mindful, 900 square feet for an apartment today for 1 bedroom. It's actually really quite a large size. I mean, I live next door to new buildings that are going up in Greystone Village, and I can tell you that units are, a 900 square foot unit is a big unit by comparison to what's actually being proposed. So part of me is really grappling with, well, if you did reduce some of the sizes of those 1 bedroom units, not the smaller ones I think are, don't need to be tweaked, but if you could reduce that size, maybe you could actually reduce your overall footprint and provide a little bit more room in the rear yard that would give it more functionality. So those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Tremblay. Mr. Blatherwick? You're on mute still, I'm afraid.
Is that better?
Yes.
Okay, my question, Mr. Robinson. This is a 5-unit apartment building, and I'm just wondering, Mr. Robinson, if you're intending on undertaking a servicing study for adequate sewer, adequate water supply, and given the size of the footprint that you're proposing for the lot, which is not a large lot, a stormwater management plan that would mitigate the impacts of that aspect of living in an urban area.
Thank you for the question. Due to the fact that this, as you know, since this is less than 10 units, this does not go through site plan approval. So we would be going through any obligations that would come about from building code services in terms of any grading and servicing plan that would have to be done by a civil engineer for this. So that is my understanding of what our obligations would be for this.
And in regards to sewer capacity and water capacity, Mr. Robinson, you're adding 5 units. That means 5 sets of toilets, tubs, showers, and sinks that weren't on that street attached to that lateral.
Right now, there are it is a duplex. There are 2 units, so it's a net increase of 3. And there's we have not heard anything to date or had any comments to date from planning or infrastructure approvals that there's any issues with a net increase of 3 units for this.
So there's actually been correspondence between yourself, your applicant, and the infrastructure people at the city on this?
My understanding, and Ms. Linker can confirm, is that through the review that planning department does, they circulate it to infrastructure approvals. Maybe Ms. Linker could confirm.
Yes, if you wouldn't mind, Ms. Linker.
Thank you for the question. Regarding the stormwater management, the grading and drainage will be reviewed at building permit, and the existing footprint is very similar to the proposed footprint, so it shouldn't be that much of a difference in terms of runoff. Regarding the sewer capacity, that will be reviewed at building permit if it's flagged as an area that might have capacity issues. If staff feel that's appropriate. This site is zoned R4, and is contemplated for higher intensification in the official plan and secondary plan. So I assume that correlates with the expected capacity.
Thank you, Ms. Linker. Mr. Blatherwick, any follow-up?
Yeah, just a follow-up question to Mr. Robinson. As we are all aware, Mr. Robinson, this is a new build on a small site. Why can't you meet the performance standards of the bylaw?
Thank you for the question. In order to build a stacked unit, the performance standards are different for stacked units versus a low-rise apartment. The building, it is not technically big enough for stacked units, and we have tried to adhere to the current footprint of the building as closely as possible, but still allowing for some increased units on the property. The building itself has got a number of internal building issues that need a lot of work being done to them, and it was the client's preference to rebuild and to rebuild new. And we've done our best in order to propose something that is as close as possible to the existing footprint of the building while still allowing for intensification in an area that is close to public transit, close to Preston Street, and close to other intensification efforts in the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Robinson. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
No, thank you very much. Just for the benefit of anybody who's watching online, you may have noticed that Ms. McLean's screen went blank for a while, but she was in full attendance throughout that period of time. We just had another technical glitch. Any more questions or comments from any of the panelists? No. Is Ms. Young online?
Mr. Chair, we do have another registered speaker online.
Oh, we do? Okay, sorry.
Yes.
Please go. Who? I do. Who? And that is?
Mr. or Mrs. Lee.
Okay, I'll maybe seeing that Ms. Young was, her camera popped up there, but I was just simply going to ask Ms. Young whether she had any comments about the tree planting as that has been mentioned.
Thank you. Yeah, I am happy with the trees proposed. The applicant has confirmed that there's sufficient space in the rear yard and the front yard to plant medium-sized trees. In the front yard, there will actually be a larger tree as well in the right-of-way. So there is sufficient room. It will be tight, like to the building and stairs, but I do think it's reasonable to fit.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Young. And sorry, the other speaker is?
Mr. or Mrs. Lee, Mr. Chair, is online.
Okay, if you could bring him up, please. Bring him or her.
If the speaker could turn on his or her camera.
Thank you.
Hi,
Please,
my name is Han Huân. My wife is Han Lee, that we own the one of the owner of number 4 Oak Street. We had a question. This design had 2 balconies in the middle of the house that look over into our house. Our house had 2 bathrooms there that had window right there. What is the point to have the balcony, 2 balcony in the middle of the house? That is one question. Another question is, they say prohibit to have the garage in this area, for that side of the house. And they even say that they only have enough parking for 3 bicycles. I mean, you have 5 units and you only have parking for enough area for 3 bicycles. It doesn't sound right. There is some problem with the traffic or communication there somewhere. And also, you have 5 units. That means at least 5 bags garbage per week. How are you going to take care of that? In right now, the rule only allows 3 garbage per house. So you are increase a lot of garbage in that area. And we also had a new school proposed right at the end of the street, an elementary school. That means a lot of kids will be working around there. A lot of cars will be drop off and pick up the kids. This street are very small street. And now if you going to take over the parking on the street or somehow take over something like you build a garage on the city owned anyway. So now who know what you going to do next in that turn. I mean, the old street only have about 9 parking space and you are 5 units. So that means you took over half of the parking space on the street on the day. This design are definitely wrong. You had no parking for car. You don't even have parking for bicycle, for enough bicycle for 5 units. It is wrong, and you have to review and discuss more about it. That's it.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Lee. I think probably part of the answer to the question about windows is building code requirements for windows from as alternative exits from bedrooms in case of fire or something like that. Now, where the windows get actually positioned is obviously a question of design, but there would be a requirement for windows. Ms. Linka, I believe you might be in a position to clarify parking and bicycle space requirements under the bylaw. If that's not.
But our privacy.
Just a minute, Mr. Lee. I think.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Parking is prohibited on this site just due to the lot size and the building typology. And bicycle requirements would be 0.5 spaces per unit. So I believe that the applicant is meeting the minimum required amount of bike parking.
Okay, so yeah, I agree with you. You know, there is a Mr. Lee. There needs to be windows. Where they get positioned is a question, obviously. In terms of the bicycles, so there can be no car parking on this lot because of the size of the lot under the bylaw, and there is a requirement for 0.5 or half a bicycle for every unit. So with 5 units, that's 2.5 bicycle spots, and they are providing 3. So that is in compliance with the bylaw. Mr. Robinson, do you want to speak to the positioning of the windows?
Yes, you're right. They are along the east side I think it's on the 2nd floor. I don't know.
The 3rd floor.
Yeah, I don't know if they exactly line up with the bathrooms. There is a very small sort of balcony, and it's only, I think, 3 feet by 3 feet. So that's less than 1 meter by 1 meter, and it is for building code reasons. In terms of parking, as Ms. Linker said, in this zone, anything greater than a triplex, so a 4-unit building, based on the lot size, you need 450 square meters of lot area in order to allow any parking. This committee sees, I think, occasionally variances being requested for that. When it's close to 450, we are not close to that. And this is all part of the city's intensification mandate not to be promoting parking for buildings like this being so close to public transit. There may be 9 parking spaces available on the north side of Oak Street. There were comments I saw that people are not in agreement that I guess recently the city put in 2 electric charging stations, which maybe reduces the ability for other cars to park there. But this Oak Street is a street that you can get a parking permit for, but it would be quite clear to people moving into this building that there is not a dedicated spot for them. And in terms of the garbage, I don't know a lot of details about it, but my understanding is that the 3 bags per week limit, which I find quite large. I never exceed more than 1 bag per every 2 weeks, but 3 bags per household This would be more households than this, but it would probably be done by a property management firm to bring the garbage close to the sidewalk on the night of, the night before or the morning of garbage pickup. So that would be handled that way. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, Mr. Lee, thank you very much for your comments. We really do appreciate them. Do you have anything more you want to share with us?
I mean, you have five independent units. How do you control to be 3 garbage bags with that? So that how do you tell with one independent you should not put the garbage out it with? But anyway, that y'all to discuss.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Members, any final questions or comments from Mr. Robinson? No, no. Do you want to just sort of sum up then, Mr. Robinson, briefly?
Sorry, Mr. Chair.
Oh, sorry, yes.
There are a number of speakers or a number of members, attendees online, and I don't know if any of those wish to speak to the application.
Thank you for catching that. Sorry, yes. Is there anybody else out there not in the room here who wishes to speak to this?
None of the attendees are raising their hand, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Robinson.
Thank you very much. We're here today for a 5-unit building that we feel, based on the fact that the footprint of the building is actually slightly smaller than the current building. We are doing a gentle intensification of the property. It allows for middle missing housing. It allows for some new rental stock in the neighborhood. And we feel that we're allowing for some additional green space on the property, which is right now not really green space for active recreational uses. It's a vegetable garden. So we're allowing for more sod, we're allowing for more trees, and we're allowing for some more units. And we feel that we've come about with a good balance for that. And we are removing the existing garage, which has been there for a while. It's been on the city laneway. There are other properties that are also in the same situation. And we look forward to the committee's decision. Thank you. And I assume it'll be reserved.
I think that's a fair assumption, Mr. Robinson. Yes, thank you. Okay, item 6 was withdrawn at the request of the applicant. So there are no more items on our agenda. Is there any other business that needs to be addressed before we adjourn? In that case, I would take a motion to adjourn from a committee member, Mr. Kecklican, second by Ms. McLeod, and I'm assuming that we're all going to be voting in favor of that. So thank you very much to everybody for participating this afternoon. We do appreciate it. And we are adjourned.